Hi everyone, I'm Michelle from Boozy Bakers and I'm going to be baking some festive buns with you this morning. So I'm just going to wait a minute for everyone to log on. Hopefully we've got lots of people joining us live. We've got Mr. Boozy Baker who is behind the camera for me, taking any questions you might have along the way. But I've put out the ingredients lists on my live post. I did it on Friday and then again this morning. But I will be going through, oh thank you love, I will be going through what we're using as we go along. So if you don't have the right ingredients, there will be chance to measure it out as we go. Have we got anyone joining us yet? Oh, big swig of coffee for this morning.
Yeah, we've got people joining us.
Excellent.
Thumbs up.
Yeah, so
No comments yet though, I don't know.
So what I'm doing is Mr. Boozy Bakers is behind the camera. He'll be reading out any comments you have, and if there's anything that you need to see or you've missed, maybe there's someone else in the room and you've not quite caught an instruction, just ask again and we'll keep repeating for you, don't worry. And we'll go at a pace that I think you can all keep up with. Thank you, can you put it on there for me? Sorry. If you've done a stage, if you could give me a thumbs up, that would be great. We just realised, having set this up about an hour ago, that I hadn't actually heated the milk. So we're just gonna, yeah, that's fine. Right.
We got highs from Alison and Linda.
Hiya. Right, so we want to start off. I'm just testing the milk. It's a bit hot. I'm just hoping that's okay. You want to start off with 260 ml of milk. It doesn't matter if it's full fat or semi-skimmed, and you want it warm. Ours is ever so slightly too hot. I might, Mr. Boozy Baker, could you just replace a little bit of that with some colder milk or water, just so we can get on. Yes, you want it about 37 degrees. If you don't have a thermometer, baby bath water, body temperature, just anything that you can't, it's not going to kill the yeast that we're going to add to it in a second. Sorry, I'm watching him do the milk. Something that is just warm, not too cold, not too hot. I know, I'm fussy. Bear with me, we'll get the milk back.
Yeah, Goldilocks.
Lovely, I know, I am a bit like Goldilocks this morning. Right, so you've got 260 ml of warm milk, and you're going to want to put in a teaspoon of your sugar. We've got caster sugar. I said in the ingredients list 75 grams, so I'm just using a teaspoon of that to mix into my milk. And I'm just going to stir that up so that it dissolves. These are going to make such yummy afternoon treats. And then I'm going to add 10 grams of yeast. Now, if you've got a sachet of dried yeast and it's 7 grams, that will be fine. You don't need to open another one. 7 grams will work. So this can be fresh or dried yeast. It can be instant. It doesn't matter. You want to put your yeast into the milk. You can give it a stir just to mix it in. It won't dissolve though. It will kind of look a little bit like leftover Weetabix on top of the milk. But what we want that to do quite quickly is to activate. So those little bits of brown yeast will start to grow. It will cover the top of the milk with like foam and kind of bubble a bit. We don't need to leave it for too long, but if you have gone to the back of your pantry and found a pot of yeast and thought, I don't know if it works, this will tell you quickly if it does. So have we got any questions? Or are you all busy?
We've got some good numbers joining us, but...
And can you hear Mr. Boozy Baker? Because he is standing away, so I just want to make sure. We've got lots of people joining, but maybe some of you might be watching and you might, of course, all be busy preparing your yeast. So I've developed this recipe. It's of our own, and we've made it nice and Christmassy today. But a lot of bread recipes that use yeast you do a double proof. So you make your dough and then you leave it and then you bring it back and you shape it or do whatever you want with it and then you leave it again. We're not going to faff around like this. This is a tried and tested recipe. It's delicious, and we're just going to make the dough, form our buns, and then we're going to leave them covered for an hour, and then you can bake them straight off. That's it. So nice, simple one for a sweet bread recipe.
Alison and Julia both said yes, so far so good, and we can hear.
Brilliant.
So.
Right, I'm going to leave my milk to one side for a minute whilst I look at the dry ingredients, and that will just give that enough time to activate a bit. So in my bowl, I've got 600 grams of strong flour, or otherwise known as bread flour. So you need 600 grams. I'll go a little bit slower in places, and I will repeat. I'm going to use the remaining amount of my 75 grams of caster sugar and tip that into the bowl. I'm not going to stir anything yet. And to make it festive, I'm going to add a good teaspoon of mixed spice. You could use cinnamon, nutmeg, ginger, a mix of it all. But I'm going to use a good teaspoon, a rather heaped one. There we go. And just because that's all my dry ingredients now, I'm going to mix that together. And I don't know about you, but already that brown specks in my jug where the yeast is, it started to multiply across the milk. Not really fast, it's not that exciting, but I can see that it's doing something. As long as it's doing something, we know the yeast is activating. Oh, Mr. Boozy Baker is bringing it to you. I'm not sure you'll see it.
That very well.
It's in a bit of a tall jug.
Turn that enough. There you go.
So a lot of bread recipes, and if you've got the time, you can leave that milk to sit with the yeast for a while longer, and you get a centimetre or two of growth on the top of like bubbly, foamy yeast. But as long as we know it's active, we can go ahead and use that. So that's 600 grams of flour with the 75 grams of caster sugar, minus the teaspoon we put in the jug, and a teaspoon, it's rather heaped teaspoon I used, of mixed spice. We're then going to add 90 grams of melted butter. This is unsalted butter, and I melt it because it's easier to mix in and it makes the buns nice and moist. I also want to add an egg. I'm just going to beat that quickly. Might as well use the ramekin that I've just had the butter out of to give it a bit of a stir up. Just mix those together. And that can go into the bread mix too. There we go. And the last thing to add is your egg mix. So you can just pour that in. I'll recap on that. Egg mix? Yeast mix, sorry. So to the flour and the sugar and the mixed spice, we've just added 90 grams of melted butter, a beaten egg, and the yeast milk mix that we had in the jug. And I'm just going to stir that together, and that should form a nice dough. So how's everyone doing? Am I going too fast, guys?
We've been getting thumbs up throughout.
Excellent.
Obviously, I'm guessing people are busy doing it, so they're not getting any comments.
I cheat. I have someone behind the camera taking the comments, so I don't have to use my hands or slow down. But I do appreciate you're all busy. Just tell me if I'm going too fast. I know we had someone ask about doing a dairy-free version of these. You can change the butter for oil. You can use like an oat milk or something instead of milk. So you can change it up. I know I have done these before, and someone's used also with the egg. If you are vegan and you don't want to add the egg, just take it out. It does change the texture slightly, but it still makes a very good bun. And for those that are gluten-free, I have heard of people using gluten-free flour with this with good results. So it's a nice versatile recipe. Right, in my bowl, I'm just going to scrape down my spoon. In my bowl, I've now got a dough that I'm just going to push it together, and I'll show you. It's enough that I can bring it out. I've now got a dough. It's not a well-formed glossy ball yet, but it's certainly together, and it's not particularly sticky. Little bit of stickiness, but it's not really sticking to my hand. So that's the consistency you want to get it to. I'm going to put this onto my worktop, but I'm going to put a bit of flour down first, just so it doesn't stick. There we go. So a bit of a thumbs up if you have a ball of dough in front of you. Have a sip of my coffee. We were downloading a recipe book last night. We published it at about 2 a.m. in the morning, so I'm fueled up on coffee for today. Lots of thumbs up. Right, excellent. So with our hands, we're going to knead the dough. It's just by folding it over and pressing down. Folding it on top and pressing down. If you have a machine with a dough hook, you can use that. You can give it a good 5-6 minutes in the machine. I personally really like doing this by hand. I think it's really quite therapeutic, and you can't over knead with your hands either. So you'll see that it doesn't need that much flour. If you do find it's a bit sticky, obviously do use a bit more flour, but I actually don't need any of that at the moment, although I will keep it spare for when we roll this out later. But you just want to knead this for a while. So these make a great breakfast treat. An afternoon, I mean, to be honest, sweet buns, I think you can have any time, can't you really? You can make these, prove them for an hour and eat them. But if you want to, you could make them in the evening, leave them overnight for breakfast, and then you just warm them through in the, cook them in the oven. You can also freeze them before you put them in the oven, and before you let them prove, just pop them in the freezer and bring them out and let them prove when they're defrosting.
Emma's saying looking forward to giving these a try. So hi, Emma.
Hi, Emma. So I'm twizzling. I've got a twisty chair, and as I'm kneading, I can feel myself turning. So I do love Christmas. I don't know if you can see my Christmas tree in shot, but I just think anything that makes the kitchen smell of Christmas is just wonderful. So yeah, these are going to be good. So you should find that your dough starts to form a smoother ball. But just keep going. I know it's a bit of a workout, but then, you know what, we've used up some, so we've burned off some calories so that we can eat them. That's my excuse anyway. We're going to fill these with mincemeat. If you don't like mincemeat, you can change that. You could add a cinnamon syrup using butter, sugar and cinnamon, or you could do something like Nutella. So if you want quantities for the cinnamon syrup, let me know, but just thought with Christmas, let's use mincemeat.
a lot of people agree into loving Christmas and making them.
Honestly, the kitchen at the moment, I think on a regular, daily basis, we're making chocolate chip elf cookies and mince pies and mince pie cakes and cinnamon buns and festive buns. It's honestly, it's like Santa's workshop in here. It's lovely. That's not even forgetting the Christmas cakes. So, yeah. Right, there we go. I'm getting a bit of a workout. You didn't realise this was going to be a Get Fit class too. There we go. I'm quite happy. I'll show that to camera. But a nice smoother ball of dough there. So once you've got it to that point, we are ready to roll that out. So more coffee needed. It's actually been quite a busy Monday morning. I think the closer we get to Christmas, the more people are buying gifts and posting them out. So we've had a busy morning in the kitchen, probably a busy afternoon too.
So how are people doing? Have we got any thumbs up for reaching this stage?
Yeah, we'll wait for you guys. Just putting a bit more flour on my table, just so when I roll this out it doesn't stick. Oh, it's gone quiet. Some thumbs up. So you're going to want a rolling pin. If you don't have a rolling pin, a bottle of wine on its side is actually quite effective. So I'm just going to put some flour onto my rolling pin so it doesn't stick to the dough. And we want to roll this out into a rectangle about, I'm going to say 25 by about 35, 40 centimetres long. So I'm going to get rolling. I might even get the tape measure out and let you know what mine got to. It will fight to begin with. Because it's got the gluten in it, it feels like you won't get anywhere. It feels like it is bouncing back, but just bear with it and it will give up. You will win. I think I've got flour so much on this worktop that it's just sliding around at the moment. I'm just moving my dough around just so that I keep a nice even roll. But it is gradually, I'm putting quite a bit of pressure on the dough, but we're gradually making that bigger. You can use your hands, it's quite robust, so you can use your hands to make sure you keep it in that rectangular shape. I'm going to treat it a bit like a Swiss roll and fill it and then roll it up. So the more square the edges are, the better really, but there's nothing wrong with a bit of rustic either. I don't know if we've got any kids joining us. I suppose a lot of children will still be on at school. But this is a great one for kids to have a go at as well. I've got an 11-year-old son who will make these on his own, and well, he likes them any time of day. But he made them as a treat for breakfast one morning, and he loves making them. So great for the Christmas holidays to have a go at.
Janice asked, did you use bread flour on the rolling pin and worktop?
Yeah, I did, but if you've got just plain flour left, that will work fine. It's only to keep it from sticking. There we go. I said we'd win. So I'm just every so often I just shape the edges just to keep it as square as I can. Now I'm changing my angle now, which is probably going to not work with this chair, and just try and keep it that rectangular shape. Just move things out the way as it gets a bit bigger.
Yeah, Andrew is agreeing, it's good to get children involved in cooking.
Oh yeah, they love it. We do lots of lovely bakes suitable for kids. Despite our name, that's for the things that you can order. but we do love cooking for any age and ability. Could I have a tape measure, please, just so I can see how I got on there? Thank you. Yeah, so I've actually got to 40 centimetres by 32. So I actually went a bit wider, a bit longer. So something around that. Depends how thick you want the dough, but I think that's about right. So I'm just going to try and shape the corners a little bit so that I've got some, it's not exactly going to be a point, but it's a little bit more rectangular. Once you've got to that point, we can fill, but give us some thumbs up once you've got to there.
Our children have really enjoyed taking part in the workshops as well, so they've become little YouTube stars in their own right.
Yeah, yeah. Erin does like the she likes making biscuits, doesn't she? And Max is quite into his bread and making garlic bread dough balls and things. He's really into that. Right, we've got some thumbs up on the dough. It might take a bit longer. Appreciate that. I might have done that a bit faster.
One or two.
That's all right. Oh. Got some questions? Or are we good? Got my hands down a bit. There we go. So yeah, give us a thumbs up as and when you are ready, and we'll make this look a little bit more like you're probably expecting. What a great way to start the week, hey? Bit of Christmas baking. So hopefully you're joining in on all the other activities that Virtual Village Hall has to offer. Good, Mr. Boozy Baker is looking out for you. Some thumbs up.
Slowly coming through, but yeah.
Okay, well, I'll move ahead, but if you miss anything, just type into the comments and Mr. Boozy Baker will help you out. So I've got a jar here with, it's a 400-gram jar of mincemeat, and I'm just going to put enough. I'm going to start with 3 spoonfuls. This is it's actually a soup spoon I'm using. But we want to spread that across the dough. And this will give you all the flavour of Christmas, but it will also stick that dough together. So I definitely need a bit more. I'm just using the back of the spoon just to, what the word is, spread it out, that's it. Bit more, so I'm probably about 2/3 down the jar now, and I would imagine that could be enough. Let's just make sure it's all got a bit of that sugary syrup all over. If you're using something else, tell us what you're doing. We do like to hear the variations that we get when we do a workshop. Or maybe you've made your own mincemeat to use. A little bit more. There we go. Okay, take that as much to the corners as I can. It'd be great to see your pictures as well. You could post them to the Village Hall, or you can post them to us at Boozy Bakers. I'll put our details on afterwards so you can find us, but we'd love to see your creations.
Andrea's going for a Nutella version.
A Nutella, yeah, no problem with that. So what you want to do, I'm using the longest side is next to me, and these are the shorter sides. So I'm going with the longer, and I'm going to fold it in a tight circle here, and just roll it, and then roll it again. And I'm just trying to keep it quite tight, just so that that dough, there's no kind of space between it. Once you've done that first couple, you can really get your hands in and just apply a little bit of pressure, not too much, and you should be able to roll that up, like so. we're going to chop this up in a minute. So I've got a baking tray and a piece of parchment on top, just because I don't trust baking trays at all. So I always use a bit of parchment, or you might have a silicone mat that you can use to place on top, just so that your buns don't stick to the tray. And you're going to need a relatively sharp knife to cut this. Now this will make 12, so you can either go and leave it on your neighbour's doorsteps if you want to share them out. They will last a day or two. My kids will definitely the next day put them in the microwave for a few seconds and have them warm. Or as I said, if it's too much for today and you don't want them all, pop them in the freezer. The minute we've sliced them, pop them in the freezer, put them in a Ziploc bag, and they will keep. And then you can bring them out and defrost them, let them grow before you pop them in the the oven. So with my knife, I'm going to go for half. Go halfway. Really should have a chopping board when I do this, so don't be as naughty as me. And then I'm going to go halve those halves, so I've got quarters. And then for each one of those, you can cut them into 3. So just do those. Don't worry if they go a bit out of shape. We can fix that on the board. There we go. So I've sliced that up into 12. I'm going to bring my tray forwards. The outside ones, they look a bit less refined. So I'm going to put that down and do the cut side up. And then I'm going to put them 3 by 4 on a tray. You want some distance between the two, maybe like 2 fingers width apart. But you want them to, as they grow, they're going to touch each other on the tray. And then you get nice soft sides.
Janice asked, do you need to preheat the oven?
Well, you do before you put them in, and I'll give you the temperatures, but you want to prove them for about an hour. The minute they're on the tray, cover them with a bit of cling film or a damp tea towel and give them about an hour before you pop them in the oven. But make sure your oven is preheated. You're going to want to do 180 for conventional, 160 for fan. Mr. Boozy Baker, what is that in gas? Is that 5? 4? Gas mark 4. So I'm just going to pop those on the tray, like so. So I'm just going to quickly you can press down slightly. I know it's a bit of a sticky job, but you can just press down ever so slightly if you think that it's required. I will show you these in a second. There we go. So that is, can I see that?
Yeah.
That is my tray of festive buns. I'm just going to quickly grab a wet cloth just to clean this up. Once you have those all formed, just stick a bit of cling film or a damp tea towel over the top just to help them prove, and just give them about an hour. I haven't finished yet though, guys. I've got one more thing to show you. You don't have to do this part yet. This might be just watch it, and then when your buns are baked, you can put this on top.
Nadine's just joined. You made all the pastry for this. So.
Sorry?
She's asked, did you make the pastry for this? So yes.
Yes, we did. So I'm sure you can, we'll share it to the virtual hall, and you can watch again, but it's quite simple. All the ingredients are listed above one of our posts just before this workshop, so you can find it all there. And they are quite, I think anyone that's been following along and baking with us, they've been quite simple, so do have a go. So I need to cover mine really, but I'll just leave them there. You cover yours. And then whilst they're baking later, so give them an hour covered, just leave them on the side. If you've got a dough proving drawer or we've got a microwave which has got a dough proving function on it, then as long as they're covered, pop them in there for a bit, and as long as they've grown, it might only take half an hour in the right environment, but by an hour they should all have grown and be touching each other. The minute you've got to that point, preheat your oven to 180 for conventional, 160 for fan or gas mark 4, and then when it's up to temperature, pop them into the oven for 20 minutes. And they should be all touching each other and golden, and the smell will be amazing. Whilst they're baking, you want to get your icing sugar. I've got 100 grams here. And you want to get a little bit of water. And just I'm going to put 2 spoonfuls in. This is, again, my soup spoon, but I'd say a good 2 dessert spoons. And just, you want to create a paste that you can drizzle on top of your buns. So how much you put on is up to you. If you want to absolutely smother them in it, if you've got a sweet tooth, then go for it. But you can just use a spoon and just drizzle it over in lines. You can make this thinner to be more of a glaze, or thicker if you want to see real white stripes across your buns.
Kerry says she's thanking you. She's looking up the ingredients later, but she's joined late. What's inside?
It's mincemeat. So we've just used about 2/3 of a 400 gram tin of mincemeat inside to make these a bit festive. But if you aren't so keen on mincemeat, you can use Nutella, or you could get a bit of butter, melt it, add a bit of brown sugar, some cinnamon, and make a bit of a cinnamon syrup. So that's all I've done is a bit of icing sugar and water. You don't need to do this yet because these are for when the buns are cooked. But that is a nice pourable, but pretty thick still, icing sugar. And once these are out of the oven, I will just drizzle that with a spoon across the top, leave for a few minutes just to cool down a bit, especially with that mincemeat in the middle. It will be hot, and then you can enjoy that straight away. If you're going to leave them, just make sure you put them in a sealed container so they don't dry out.
With the icing, my question.
Oh.
Could you up it with things like brandy or something like that?
Oh yes, you could. If you wanted to make it a boozy icing, you could add a bit of brandy rather than water. If you wanted to add some lemon and make it a little bit zesty, you could add lemon instead. You could even, if you're not a massive fan of icing, you could just get a bit of sugar and cinnamon and just sprinkle it on top of the buns. These are really nice and versatile so that you can make it suit you, completely suit you.
Janet's asked, can you use jam?
I wouldn't use jam just because it may burn. You can use lemon curd to fill it. You can try jam. I haven't done it yet. Just memories of jam burning on the sides. But certainly lemon curd has worked, Nutella, a sugar syrup, and mincemeat. But if you do use jam, let us know how you get on. So that's it really, guys. How have we done? We've made festive buns in about half an hour, and you just need to leave those to prove, and then put them in the oven for 20 minutes at 180 or 160 for fan or gas mark 4. So if you've got any questions, please feel free to ask. Or are they still rolling out?
The last 2 questions were both about jam, so you've already covered that one.
Okay. I'll hold on for a minute and ask away. But I hope you've enjoyed this. I think when you see the results, you'll love them. So I'll just wait. So if you want to know more about us, we are Boozy Bakers. You can find us on Facebook. We have a website, www.boozybakers.co.uk. We've got any questions, or is everyone all right?
Andrew's saying thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Boozy Baker. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you too.
Alison saying, have you got any to show us already made?
I haven't. That's really bad, isn't it? There's no Blue Peter here, but yeah, they will expand. The dough will kind of roll out. I've probably got some on. I'll put a photo on of ones I've made before for you. So I'll add that to the link afterwards, so you know what to expect.
Linda's saying thank you very much.
You're very welcome. It's been good fun. Just hold on for a few minutes, just in case we've got people with their hands covered in flour trying to type but can't. So I'll hold on for a few more minutes. But if you're done, then it's been great baking with you, and I will look forward to seeing the results.
Mary's saying brilliant, thanks, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you too.
Sylvia has asked, what is in the mixture, please?
So the mixture inside is just bought mincemeat, or if you want to use your own, you're more than welcome. And the dough is our own dough that we've created today, and you'll find all the ingredients listed. We did a post earlier and again last week, so you'll find it on the Virtual Village Hall page with a list, and I'm sure you can come back and watch again so you can make the actual dough.
So Jan saying this is great, thank you. Alison, thank you guys, happy Christmas. Janet, Merry Christmas. And Liz only just found out how to comment.
Don't worry, that's brilliant. Now work out the emojis and you are sorted. Right guys, I will leave you to it. I'll post a picture of what they will look like at the end in the comments. We will be checking the comments as we work along in the kitchen today. We are a professional bakery and it's a busy time of year, so we're going to get on with all of our treats by post. Yeah, enjoy your treats. Okay, take care. Bye.